Hello, welcome to our Siemens Connect podcast series with your host, myself, Christine Moran. If you're new to listening, each podcast will have a special guest from our Siemens Connect ecosystem. Our Siemens Connect ecosystem allows Siemens to partner with third-party companies to establish integrations to our Siemens systems. Today we'll be talking with Robert from our partner Genea. Robert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Christine. Thanks for having me. So I'm Robert Vail. I'm Vice President of Sales here at Genea. Been with Genea for just over 9 years. We service the commercial real estate industry all throughout the United States, and been really loving our partnership with Siemens over the last couple of years. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I guess to start off, Genea has an overtime HVAC solution. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So our solution, to Christine's point, it's a cloud-based solution to manage overtime HVAC requests and billings in multi-tenant offices. So the way it works is we have a device that goes on site. It connects either to the Siemens Desigo CC system or Siemens Apogee system. And from there, tenants in the building can use our app to request overtime HVAC service whenever they need it. They put in that request. They can say, I need a request air from, say, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We automate turning on those points in the automation system. When service is rendered, we release the point. The normal schedule goes back and takes over whatever it should be in the building. And then on the back end, we handle all the billing. So we incorporate whatever the lease language is, any free hours, any concessions that may be handled by the property management team is all handled in our billing software. We then provide those invoice statements to the property management team, and they can handle that and send that back to the tenants for billing purposes. So it really streamlines the entire process from request to provisioning to billing.
And tenants are able to request via an app, correct?
Correct. They can either request via our app or for our web portal. And for those who are really particular, they can actually call an 866 number and talk to one of our employees 24/7. So we have you have attorneys who like to talk to somebody, and they can actually call somebody, and we'll put in a request for them on their behalf.
Oh, nice. I actually didn't know about the 866 number.
Yeah, yeah, it's really useful. Some of the attorneys, they love it. They build a nice rapport with our customer success team.
So I guess, if you didn't have this type of solution, how would a tenant normally go about requesting overtime HVAC? Would it be harder for the facility to manage the request?
Yes. So the process without our system is very manual. So what happens is typically a building will use a work order system, whether it be Angus or Building Engines. So a tenant would make a request through Building Engines or Angus. That request then would go to the property manager. The property manager then would task the engineer who'd have to get off a ladder or whatever they're doing. They go to the front end computer, put in the override request, and then request is finished. They have to remember to take the new schedule out of the system. And then the property team would have to go change the work order, figure out what they should bill somebody, and then generate an invoice statement and submit that to accounting. So a very, very manual process with a lot of different touch points. And that's where we come in to kind of really streamline the whole process. It also removes any manual errors.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a pretty manual process. So with the, I guess, previous approach before the overtime HVAC solution, were facilities losing a lot of dollars?
Yeah, we found that there's plenty of facilities, and I don't have a specific dollar amount, but they have what they call revenue leakage. And the reason that their revenue leakage happens is because when you're doing things manually, people bypass the process. So the amount of times we hear property teams tell us, well, our large tenant, they just tell security that I need air. Security tracks down an engineer who turns on the BMS, but nobody then closes out the work order system. So that billable event is not captured. And we call that revenue leakage. And that happens all the time. And so when you automate the process and take out the manual steps, it actually does increase revenue.
Is the customer also losing out on or losing energy efficiency as well with the manual process?
To some extent, yes. And mainly that occurs on Saturdays and then minor holidays. So most buildings have Saturday lease hours. It's very standard where lease hours will be from, say, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. where the building is just running. So anybody who may need to come to work, the building is there and it's at comfort. But we know that, typically on the weekends, there's maybe only 10% of the people who actually come on site. So it doesn't really make sense to run the whole building. And so they're essentially spending more money on energy just by keeping the building in comfort. So what our buildings do is they actually default to going either off or to a very minimum load on Saturdays and minor holidays to help save energy. And then they tell the tenants, if you're going to come in, use the Genea app, request HVAC service when you need it, and then you're only running maybe a certain number of floors or a certain area for a limited amount of time. So it's a great opportunity to save energy is just by reducing runtime.
Oh, cool. And so what kind of types of facilities would you find the overtime HVAC useful for?
Typically, our solution is in high-rise multi-tenanted office buildings because overtime HVAC is a billable event. So we're in buildings like One World Trade Center in New York City. We're in 1151 West 42nd Street in there. If you go to downtown LA, we're almost the entire skyline. So U.S. Bank building, U.S. Bank Tower, Gas Company Tower, Wilshire Grand. I can kind of keep on naming big giant buildings where we work, and a lot of those we work with Siemens on those particular jobs. So that's primary use for that. We do have some other instances where we have single tenant buildings who utilize us to save energy. So it kind of seems like a unique use case because overtime HVAC is typical billable, but in a single tenant, triple net building, we have companies that use us just to be more efficient on how they run the property. Because a lot of times they'll run 24/7 because they don't want to be caught off guard if the CEO comes in at a random hour. So what they do is they say, hey, we're just going to reduce the schedule to a normal hour. And then all the employees can use the Genea app to request service when they need it. So a little bit different use case, but like I said, primary multi-tenant high-rise office buildings.
Okay, cool. And then you guys also have sub-meter billing as well, correct?
That is correct. That was actually built from the customer base. So as we would fly around the country and visit our customers and say, how do you like the overtime HVAC product? They say, we love it. In fact, can you help us with something else? We have all these sub-meters that have been put in the building to measure above standard consumption, energy consumption for server rooms and excessive water. So engineers would typically walk around once a month, writing down meter values and go to a spreadsheet to figure out how to bill it back. Or you have some instances where those meters would be networked back to the Zego CC system or the Apogee system. Then you'd pull an export at the end of the month and still have to go to a spreadsheet to create an invoice statement. So we said there's got to be a better way to do this. And what we did is we actually created a software application to manage both the manual meters and automatic meters. So we handle all the reading, but more importantly, we handle all the billing. So all those spreadsheets that have been passed down through history, they go away, and everything's done through our system, our billing system, and we create those tenant invoice statements for the property teams. So, and that's been growing pretty dramatically. Where we launched it 6 years ago, and we're now reading and billing over 25,000 meters on a monthly basis.
Oh wow, that's a lot. And this, as you said, would probably be in similar market, high-rise office spaces.
Well, you'd think so. That was the original intent. Is okay. This is for our high-rise office buildings, but what we found is sub-meter billing is taking us kind of all over the place. We actually do sub-meter reading in retail centers. So there's a lot of retail centers that have water meters. We do industrial parks. So there's multi-tenant industrial parks. They'll have gas meters, they'll have water meters, they'll have electrical meters. We'll handle that. We also do a zoo. So we do the Detroit Metropolitan Zoo. We also do the Detroit Airport that have meters all over the place. So we've kind of run the gamut of what we've seen. And of course, there's multifamily that have lots and lots of meters. So yeah, the business is massively growing beyond what we initially thought the use case was.
Oh, wow, that's really good. And similar to the HVAC solution, this helps with revenue loss, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's not only revenue loss, but inaccurate billings. So the amount of times that we get a spreadsheet that's been kind of passed down through history when properties change hands or property management companies change, where we see there's incorrect formulas, multipliers, rollover, and people have been doing inaccurate billing for years. We fix all that. So with our software application, so we correct underbilling, overbilling, inaccurate multipliers. So we fix all that going forward so that it's accurate billing. So you're recovering all the energy cost.
Oh, cool. So I've got two more questions for you. Okay. So as you know, Genea is part of our Siemens Connect ecosystem. So for our listeners, what got Genea interested in joining our ecosystem?
So it was really interesting. It started kind of naturally working in Southern California. So with the Southern California office, there is a need to bring us in as kind of a partner. As the Zigo CC system was getting rolled out, there wasn't an application for overtime HVAC, and we already had built up a nice reputation. And so, just working together with your local office and said, hey, can we bring these two products together and work together on joint opportunities? And so that's how kind of the impetus of it started. And then I was introduced to Rene Herrera, who oversees the ecosystem team, and he said, hey, can we do this on a national basis, but really make it more formalized partnerships so that all the Siemens branches know who Genea is and that we can work together. And we really thought from a business perspective that made really good sense. We've already had great success. Why can't we replicate this all over the country? Because you guys have customers who have this need everywhere. So it was really advantageous to us, and it's been nothing but wonderful working with the Siemens team.
Oh, cool. And then finally, what is one thing listeners should take away from this podcast?
I guess the biggest thing would be to take away is that, we want to make our solution really easy to adopt by your customer base. So we make the implementation very, very simple. That's always a big thing that property teams are worried about. We're going to handle all the onboarding, all the training, all the ongoing support. So we want to make this easy. We plug a massive hole that the customers they really need a software like this, because there's a massive hole when it comes to billing back for either sub-meters or overtime HVAC, and we plug that gap. And so, so those are the big things I'd like to take away. One is it's easy to implement, and that we're going to take really good care of the customers, and it's going to provide them something that's very, very useful.
Well, thank you for your time today. This was a lot of good information. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know about Genea as well.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who's taken time out of their day to listen to us. Please remember, the entire podcast series is on demand. For more information on Genea, please visit the marketplace and be on the lookout for our next episode.